Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Hello, and welcome to the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple's Sunday YouTube service. This is the service for July 25th, 2021. Thank you so much for gathering with us to hear the Buddha Dharma and say the Nembutsu together. Service order for today will be Sanbutsuge. You can find Sanbutsuge on page 53 in the Blue Denver Service Book. We'll then have a reading of Our Pledge. You can find Our Pledge written out in the description below. We'll then have a Dharma talk in English by myself, Reverend Masher Mace. Thank you so much for joining us here once again on the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple's YouTube channel. And if you like this video and would like to see other Jodo Shinshu Buddhist services, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. And if you don't have a copy of the Blue Denver Service Book, don't worry, because if you look in the description below, you'll find a hyperlink to a PDF copy that you can download, save on your desktop, or print off. Also, please remember, you are always in Amida Buddha's light, and no matter where you go, you can always say, Namo Amida Butsu. Have a great week, and we'll see you again soon, hopefully here in person at the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple. Be good. Namo Amida Butsu.
공행이니 이심능억 녀세며 느여토샤 니칭앗마니 슈코엔뇨 가이시nom페 윤약주목 뇨라이용엠 조세문인 숄가그나이옴 고르지뽀 가이몬쇼진 산마이치에 이토그무료 슈쇼케우 진타이젠넨 쇼분호카이 그진진노 그고가이타이 무묘요그누 세손요무 닌노시시진토그무료 그근골다이치에진묘 골묘이소신도다이센 강아사붓자이쇼호 가도쇼지미부게단 후세조이 解任精進行税三昧知恵以上五世徳仏不行志願一切空空一切大安慶始運分百千億万無量大小衆女五者供養一切使徒諸仏不如愚道賢聖不客非如五者諸仏世界無不可け無種節道法領師匠変死諸国如是精進異人難女両が三仏国土第一五種奇妙道場超絶国女内四二無闘争がと愛民道断一切自法来生新年少女伊藤が国慶楽安の公文神妙税が神書本願の非力少々よ自法生存知恵無下上領子孫知が信用軽量心死食読中が行精進忍術不軽なまんなぶなまんなぶなまんなぶなまんなぶなまんなぶなまんなぶがんにしくどく平等性一切道 홀호픈 모다이신 올조 안라고. 나모 아미다붓.
나모 아미다붓.
나모 아미다붓.
나모 아미다붓.
나모 아미다붓.
나모 아미다붓. 남만다. 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 남만다.
남만다.
Please join me in Gasho to lead our pledge. Breaking out of my shell, I will share a warm smile and speak gentle words, just like kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance. I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I will share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I've received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Hello, and welcome to the Tri-State Denver Buddhist YouTube service. I'm going to read from the letters of Renyo, the second fascicle, fifth letter. This letter is entitled Ojuzu. As I reflect, having observed the ways of the Nembutsu followers in this temple community for over the past few years, I find they totally lack the settled mind of other power. The reason I say this is that none among them carries an ojuzu. Not carrying any ojuzu amounts to grasping the Buddha with bare hands. Shinran Shonin never told us to worship the Buddha without an ojuzu. Nevertheless, in order to attain birth in the Pure Land, only the entrusting heart of other power is required. Not carrying an ojuzu creates no hindrance to that end. In the first place, priests of big temples are expected to wear robes and carry ojuzu. In this connection, we notice that those who have attained the true and trusting heart never fail to express in their voice and manifest it in their manner. From this, we can conjecture that nowadays, those who have admirably attained the true and trusting heart are extremely rare. To explain this further, it appears that these priests, failing to appreciate the primal vow of Amida Tathagata is benefiting us, always assume the air of understanding of all about the entrusting heart, and whenever they hear the Dharma, they dismiss it as nothing new, thereby unable to take it seriously in their minds, so they are merely imitating others. Such being the case, their own birth in the land of bliss seems doubtful. It is even more doubtful whether they can teach their followers and members. In such a state of mind, their birth is to come in the fulfilled land will be impossible. How shameful and sad it is. You should simply claim your mind and deeply reflect. Indeed, impermanence of human life is such that one may die at any time, and when the breath goes out and is not followed by a breath that comes in. Be very careful in keeping the mind of the Buddha Dharma and seek the entrusting heart, humbly and respectfully. There was a note on the bottom of this that Renyo said, early in the morning of the 16th day of the second month of the 6th year of Bun Mei, 1474, I suddenly took a brush and wrote this. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. So, I find that this is a really interesting Gobunshu letter, because it seems like it's really in two places at once. So Renyo Shonen entitles, or rather this has been entitled since his time as the letter on Ojuzu. And for Shinshu followers, we would call this Onenju. This is also, if you look at other Buddhist sects, they might call this Mala. There's a lot of different names for these, including, I have a book about the letters of Renyo that actually calls this a rosary, which is the English, Latin, Catholic name for it. And one of the things Renyo is saying is Shinshu followers in the temple he's at obviously lack deep understanding because they don't carry their ojuzu around. And then he says, well, you can tell monks from really good temples that are really good carry their ojuzu around, except it's fake because they don't have deep understanding. So it's kind of this roundabout way of saying something. But I think what's at the heart of this letter is actually really important. So as Shinshu followers, we carry these around, these onenju, ojuzu. And we don't often think about why. And so when we put our hands together in Gassho, our foolish being side and our enlightened side, the promise of birth in the Pure Land, our relationship with the Nembutsu is kind of fulfilled and surrounded by this onenju. So I think also what's really important here is Renyo saying ojuzu, we say onenju. What is the difference and why is this important? And so this is one of those kind of back to basics Dharma talks. So the concept of an ojuzu comes from Daocho. Daocho was one of the 7 Pure Land masters and lived in China in like the 600s. And he was a very, very devout Nembutsu practitioner. So it's said that in one day, Daocho may say the Nembutsu 70,000 times, doing nothing but sitting in meditative stance and saying, Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. And he had a large following. So Daocho was surrounded by people who saw how passionate he was about being born in the Pure Land of Amida Buddha, about building the merit he thought he needed to get born in the Pure Land. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. So what he would do is he had 2 big tubs. And one tub was filled with beans and one tub was empty. And so in order to count the amount of times he said Namo Amida Butsu, he would take one bean, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, and put it in the other tub. And this was not an uncommon practice at that time. So you do a practice, you count it, you do a practice, you count it, and they use, mnemonic or use a counting device in order to count because it's kind of a lot. And so you may know there's 30,000 beans in this tub. And so you move them all over and you've said the Nembutsu 30,000 times. This is a lot, by the way. And so Daocho had the inspirational idea, all right, well, it's really hard for me to go and teach anywhere else. It's really hard for me to move from one part of the temple to another, carrying around 30,000, 70,000, 10,000, whatever, beans in a tub, and then carrying an empty tub. It's heavy. What if I spill it? So he says, all right, so let's drill a hole through beads, rocks, stones, whatever he used, and put them together. And that is where ojuzu comes from. Because then you can go Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. And as you work your way around, on a traditional one, there's usually 108 beads. So you work your way around and you've gone 108 times. And so you can mark that down as 1. And so if you've done this 10 times, you've done 1,080 Nembutsus. And so that's where the ojuzu comes into the Shinshu sect. And comes into Pure Land Buddhism, period. So this invention by Daocho propagates out, becomes just kind of part of the standard Buddhist regalia. That doesn't really answer what the question is, what is a onenju? So for Shinshu followers, it doesn't really matter how many times you say the Nembutsu. It matters how you say the Nembutsu. And that is the Nembutsu of true entrustment. So I can say the Nembutsu 50,000 times thinking that I'm saying it in my own power and I'm building all my merit up. That's not the Shinshu way. We just need to say it knowing the truth. Namo Amida Butsu, so knowing it from here. And when we know the truth, we know that we will instantly reach the stage of non-retrogression, and our birth in the Pure Land is settled. Namanda Butsu. So we don't need this to be ojuzu. This then becomes onenju. And so that first character, that first kanji, nen, that is the important one. Just like nenbutsu, onenju, to be mindful of. These beads, these help us be mindful of the Buddha, be mindful of the vow. These remind us, as we hold them, that we are always embraced in the light of Amida Buddha. And so part of what I think Renyu is saying here is I see people not carrying their onenju. So I think he's saying two things. One, they're physically not carrying their onenju. And as a Shinshu follower, this is a really good thing to carry because this keeps us mindful. But I think the other thing he is saying here is people forget. People are inherently foolish, bombu. And because of that, our shinjin, our entrusting heart, our knowledge of the Nembutsu working with us is fleeting. Shenran writes in the Jodo Monrui Jusho, it is the moment of ultimate brevity. Like this, like that. I know I'm going to be born in the Pure Land. I forget. Snap, snap. So the onenju, this mindfulness aspect, is for me to remember, I am embraced by the vow never to be forgotten. Namo Amida Butsu. And Renyo's saying you're not carrying your onenju around. You're not remembering you're embraced by the vow. And so being a foolish being like I am, because if any of y'all know me, even if you've only seen me on YouTube, you've probably been watching long enough to know, yeah, she's a little foolish. And that's true. So for me, I find it's really important. I try to, around my wrist, have a wrist onenju. Because I look at this, and I'm like, oh, I'm embraced by the vow. Or when I have my fuho and my wagesa on, including this really cool wagesa I got from Kobe, I say, oh, I should always have my onenju in my hand. Because this reminds me I'm embraced by the vow. So even though I'm a priest, I forget these things. And so Renyo's saying, even these great priests, they pretend that the Dharma is commonplace. Oh, it's no big deal. I know the teachings. I'm super smart. And that's easy. That's an easy thing to do because we are beings of ego. We think we don't actually need Amida-sama to liberate us. And that is our ego. But it takes a second for us to open our eyes. And in that moment of ultimate brevity, we realize, oh, this is the relationship. This is me looking up and saying, oh, Amida-sama, please help me. Please, through the Nembutsu practice, let me know that I will be born in the Pure Land. And that's great. And this is our reminder. So, everywhere you go, keep your onenju with you in order to remind you that you are always embraced by the vow. And even if you don't have the beads with you, it's okay, because keep your virtual onenju. Keep your mind centered on the vow and always be mindful and knowing that no matter where you go, what you do, and who you are embraced by the vow. Namo Amida Butsu. So join me and put your hands in gasho and let's say the practice together, knowing that we will all be born in the Pure Land together. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu.